Hello to this video. I want to show you a little bit how I developed a little ESP32 PCB board, and I used the software KiCad. And first I created the schematics. You can see it here in this editor, and I used templates and examples from the internet and placed these components here. The main chip is the ESP32-C3. This chip is widely used because it's cheap, and it has also a lot of GPIO pins which can be used for sensors, etc. Here you can also see the little capacitors and resistors I needed. Here's the chip for the voltage supply, where you get the 5 volt from USB-C, and then it converts it to 3.3 volts used for powering the ESP32. And here is the USB-C connector with the data lines. I also added an RGB LED on the board. This part with the schematics was quite easy because you can also find an official hardware design guide from Espressif, the manufacturer of the chip. There are values given for the capacitors you need, and also some tips how to design PCB board. Then in a second step I designed the PCB board. Here in this editor you can import the footprints from the schematics, and then you get all the components. Here is, for example, a capacitor. Then you get this footprint with the soldering pads, and then you need to choose the dimensions of the PCB board, and I decided to go with 2 by 2 centimeters. And this was the hardest part, to create these traces and to look where to put the components so that I have enough space for the power lines and also the data lines. This was also very nice because I liked the challenge from finding a solution in placing these components, find a route from components to the main chip, and so on and so on. I created 2 power pins, a 3.3 volt pin and a 5 volt pin. The GPIO pins here on the left side and upper side of the board, and there is also a ground pin next to the antenna. Here on the right of the board are also 2 data lines for serial connection with UART. And here in this viewer you can see the 3D model of the PCB with the upper and down side, and then you can also place some models of the components. Then you can see how this PCB looks when it's populated with all the components. And in the next step I ordered these PCBs from JLC PCB. After 2 weeks or so I got these little PCB boards, and I choose the purple color, and here you see these traces and also the soldering pads to put the components. And what I also ordered is a solder mask, where I can put the solder paste and then create the development board. And the finished board looks like this. You can see here the USB-C connector below the PCB board, and the 2 buttons, reset and boot button, and all the GPIO and power pins. In the middle is the ESP32-C3 chip. On the left side of the chip you see the LED, and on the right up corner is the antenna for wireless connection. Placing all the little resistors and capacitors was quite tedious, but in the end it worked out. Now I connected the board with my notebook, and I can show you how this board can be programmed. What I use is MicroPython. To program I use Tony. Here I can connect with the ESP32. You see here it's MicroPython version 1.21, and with this NeoPixel code I can turn on the LED on the board. Now you will see purple color of the LED. I can also choose red when I change these numbers here. Yes, so that's it. That's my little project with the ESP32 chip. What I really liked is designing this PCB board as it's quite challenging, and you can find all the keycut files in the link in the description of this video. So if you want to change the design or just order these PCBs, you can take these files. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was just a little overview of my small project. Next, I want to add to this board a battery charging circuit so that I connect the battery to the board and use this headless and completely wireless.